each moment of every day, we get to choose who we want to be. We get to choose how we want to be perceived. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter the kind of family life you have, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You get to decide every moment of the day how you will behave. People, are you ready? Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
And a big welcome back. It is time, my friends, time to let it shine as always. With Lucinda Kay, I'm Dave Erickson. First of all, how are you today?
Hi, Dave. I am great. I am healthy. Got some nice endorphins going from my workout. Choosing to be Ms. Joyful today. How about you?
I'm okay. Still just, whoa, my microphone's slipping. Just transitioning from week to week, making a long to-do list and try to check them all off as I go.
You've always been good at lists.
I'm a list builder. Yes. I really like today, you just used the word choosing, choice. I think that's kind of maybe our theme today because the goal is to choosing to be your best self moving forward. And we've got 3 steps to help you get on track and stay on track in this endeavor. And I kind of wanted to talk about resolutions because resolutions are maybe a to-do list, goal setting, and how successful people are in today's world. And I found this, Lucinda, it was a study from University of Scranton, Journal of Clinical Psychology. And I love psychology.
I know you do.
How many people make and keep resolutions? And we talk about habits sometimes and how many days or months it takes to create a habit. I've heard 3 weeks. I've heard 3 months. What have you heard in terms of creating a habit?
Well, there are all kinds of time periods put to it by all different kinds of experience by experts. But what do you have to do to create a habit? You have to carry out the behavior every single day until it becomes habit. So for somebody like you, you might be able to create a habit in 24 hours. Somebody else, it might take them 24 months. So it just depends on the human being.
So the top 10 New Year's resolutions for 2015, and I'll do the top 5.
Sure.
Number 1, lose weight. People want to get fit and healthy. Number 2, get organized. That kind of falls into place. Number 3, spend less, save more. Planning for the future. Number 4, enjoy life to the fullest. And number 5, staying fit and healthy.
Yeah.
What I found interesting about this is that, well, let me just ask you, more often than not, do you think people are able to keep their resolutions when they make them in the new year? More or less than 50%?
I would guess much less.
Much less.
Fewer than 50%.
Well, surprisingly, more people are keeping their resolutions. Here's the length of resolutions maintained through the first week. 75%. Seems pretty high, but then again, everyone's excited, enthusiastic, and they have the energy for the first week. Past 2 weeks, a small drop-off, 71%. After 1 month, 64%. Now, this is really surprising to me. 6 months later, 46% kept their resolutions. Doesn't say how many of the resolutions, but the resolutions maintained through 6 months, 46%. I'm impressed with that because that's some stamina through 6 months.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We have three different items we're going to cover today, and they kind of fall into these top 5 lists. Exercise, behavior, and this is kind of a wild card to me in a way, is experience.
Right.
And this is all about trying to be your best self. So let's go number 1 here, Lucinda. Get on track with exercise. Go.
Well, I think that in all cases, we need to think about, instead of thinking about, I'm going to work out harder or I'm going to lose weight, it's about creating a wellness plan so that you are healthy for the long haul, so that you're healthy inside and out. And so I talk about food as nourishing yourself. What is the fuel you need to get through your day? I talk about it as a wellness plan. How do you take the best care of yourself? And I know you remember I used to be a competitive athlete, a nationally qualified bodybuilder and power lifter, and then I became a personal trainer after my competition days before I entered the news business. So I've been blessed to have a lot of experience in the world of competitive athletes, and of course you do right now every single day. And so what I found is anytime with my clients, and by the way, as a communications coach, I talk a lot about health and wellness because you can't do one without the other. You cannot be an effective, powerful speaker for the long haul if you are not taking really good care of yourself. So lots of my clients, that's where we have to start, is with their wellness. How are they nourishing themselves, and how are they making themselves stronger? So those are the kinds of vocabulary words I use just to get started. What kinds of language do you use to get folks started on your teams?
Well, we talk about, I think, having a plan, being focused, and setting out. We kind of back time our things. If we're getting ready for a big race or leading up to a race, we have blocks. We have the building phase. We have the interval phase. We have kind of some peak training, and then there's the taper phase. So everything is organized into steps, and each step needs to be accomplished before the next one can be taken. Because you can't really go into, let's say for triathlon, you can't really go into speed work if you don't have the foundation yet, because you need to have the endurance base to build upon. So I think we talk a lot about that, of having an organized plan. We break it up throughout the year, sometimes in thirds, sometimes in quarters, depending on how our season's laid out.
Yes. So how we talk about it, that's key, right? And then next, we talk about, instead of talking about getting rid of stuff, which can be really challenging for people, like stop doing this, stop doing that, get rid of this, get rid of that, that can be really, that carries a lot of fear, because people have a lot of commitment, connection, loyalty to whatever those behaviors, foods, lack of exercise are. And so instead, I talk about adding in. And so the first phases are really more about, where can you add in more vegetables? Where can you add in more fruits? Where can you add in more body movements each day? So especially with beginners, I don't send them off to the gym to do some big hardcore workout, and I don't clean all sugar out of their diet. Otherwise, they're going to have a really hard time, and we're just setting them up for failure. But if I talk about where can you add in this goodness, that's so much easier to accomplish. And then that becomes the habit. You are already filling your plate with kale, spinach, broccoli, and cauliflower, and maybe it's next to, a nice scoop of mac and cheese, which is my favorite. But now you have more balance, right? And so it's much easier than later on when you start taking out some things that maybe don't make you feel as good as the good stuff does. So what can you add into your day, whether it's movement or nutrition?
And sometimes we'll look at it as maybe a replacement or a substitute. So the adding, to me, when I say add, I hear adding and go, oh no, more stuff. But if I can say I'll replace it, okay, instead of this half-hour block of doing this, I will just slide over this activity. So you are adding, but for I guess my terminology, I'm just going to substitute or replace by adding new and kind of sliding over the old. So out with the old, in with the new.
Yes, that's true. And people are so they really want to watch that TV show at 8:00, right? And that really is the only hour that they would normally have in a day to get a great workout in. And so I ask them to add in core work on the commercials, add in a set of push-ups on the commercials, add in a set of lunges. By the time the 8:00 show is on, they've really gone through head to toe a beautiful set of exercises. So now they're feeling strong by the end of the day. So, we live these big, busy lives, and creating habits are challenging for every person of all ages. And so adding in so that we can then start to create those shifts, so that then you're spending the majority of your time taking great care of yourself instead of the majority of the time not taking care of yourself.
So you begin with your clients with the foundation of exercise, and then you build upon that?
My coaching clients?
Yes.
Yes. It all depends on where they are in their life, right? And lots of times I can connect it. So if I'm working with a communications client who is already an athlete, maybe they ride their bike, thousands of miles like you do each year. Now I can start connecting the dots. I can start connecting, how do you use your breath when you're riding your bike? How does breath play a role? How does nutrition play a role? Now I have these wonderful parallels to work with, because that's an experienced person. they can easily connect the dots. I had a client once who used to be a college football player and a pro bull rider. And so when I would coach him in his office, he found it pretty challenging. And so what did I do? I took him out to the football field and I started to connect the idea of public speaking with physical prowess. So I made him speak lines and run lines. I made him earn his way to the goalpost by using specific inflections. So now I'm connecting physicality with that mental stamina, and it was super effective. Wow. It's all connected. But when we're talking about getting people on the right track for wellness, let's talk about how can they nourish themselves, how can they make themselves stronger, and where can they add in those really golden nuggets that make them feel fabulous instead of exhausted or fragile or, lacking in some way.
And is this a natural transition or carryover into changing your behavior?
Yeah, you betcha, right? Because the stronger we are physically, the easier it is to make shifts mentally. So like I said today, I may have woken up tired, but I did my workout first because I knew I was going to need those endorphins to get me through this day of a hectic schedule. And the endorphins do so much for us, as you know, with our joy factor, our happiness factor, our ability to hold ourselves accountable factor, our relationships. So wherever you can build in endorphins, it's fabulous. I have a great app on my phone. It's a 7-minute workout. And so lots of times I use that as a superset with cardio. I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But it's also, everybody can come up with 5 to 7 minutes in the day where even if lots of times I take my phone calls with my headset and I do lunges while I'm on the call, or I'm walking back and forth, or I sit on a ball at my desk, so I'm able to do crunches, and I have great breath control, and so the other person doesn't even know that I'm, doing these exercises. So now I've built in these great moments to build up my endorphins and make myself stronger.
So those are things you can do to get on track with
Yes.
your behavior. About staying on track, what would be your transition into that of staying on track with behavior?
When it comes specifically to health and wellness?
Moving on from exercise to behavior. So to get on track and stay on track. So how do you stay on track with this behavior?
So today, talking about being our very best selves, we're talking about those 3 elements, like we said, health and wellness. And now we're going to talk about how do you want to be perceived. And so each moment of every day, we get to choose who we want to be. We get to choose how we want to be perceived. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter the kind of family life you have, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You get to decide every moment of the day how you will behave. We get to feel whatever we want to feel, and then we get to decide how we're going to respond, right? And so if you decide, this year I really want to be perceived as a joy maker, okay? Now you define what a joy maker looks like. A joy maker always has a great, bright smile on her face. A joy maker uses animated hand movements, body language. A joy maker uses lots of positive vocabulary words. A joy maker is all about encouraging the people around her instead of being self-absorbed. A joy maker probably walks around with really great posture, right? Because she's going to command the space and the environment. So once you define the behavior, oh my gosh, now you can carry it out. Now you know what a joy maker looks like. So even if I'm feeling sick or tired or sad or frustrated, I can still carry out the behaviors of a joy maker, and that's how I will be perceived. I can do the same thing of, today I'm going to be Ms. Confident. As you know, confidence and courage are learned skills. Yes, some of us are born with a little more than others, but those are learned behaviors. So even if you are the most introverted human being who tends to sit back in a corner, you can still carry out the skills of Ms. Confident. So again, great posture, great handshake, great eye contact. She uses sentences with a beginning, middle, and ending, subject, verb, noun. She pays attention to punctuation. She listens. She uses focused messaging. She has a serene spirit about her. Like nothing is they're not going to see you sweat, right? Sure, inside my head, I might be thinking, holy crap, how am I going to fix this solution? But you're going to say, I hear you. Let me work on a solution for you. So it doesn't matter what behavior you choose. You can break it down, define it, and then practice carrying out that body language and that style of behavior, and then that's how you'll be perceived. You can do the same thing with crankiness, meanness, right? Frustrated. You can carry out that behavior as well. But each moment you get to decide how you want to be perceived.
This is one of those fancy terms, but psychosomatic. Starts up here, you think it, the body kind of is the funnel for how you begin thinking. If you choose to be your best self that day, if it means joyful, boom, your body will respond to what you've programmed in your head for that day. And if you want to be cranky, you wake up, I'm just not feeling like a good guy today. It'll come out.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit and marinate in this little darkness swirling up around me.
Right. I'm angry at the world, and you're gonna feel it right now. Or I'm gonna be happy with the world, and I'm gonna make a difference. And you are my crosshairs. Get ready to get happy.
Yeah. And our thoughts become actions, right? And so I use this example a lot for like teenage girls, especially when I'm working with them. Some girl can come walking in and she's wearing shoes that maybe aren't your style, right? And so you look at she may not be near you, but you are thinking in your head, those are dorky looking shoes. Those look like old-fashioned nurse's shoes. Now look what's happening for my face. Now you can probably even feel my vibe over there, right? Look at those shoes. So now that poor girl just felt that vibe, and now you just showed that behavior. So now people are already perceiving you as a snotty girl. Instead, that girl could step in and you can use the law of exchange and think, those look like sensible shoes. Like my whole demeanor just changed by changing that thought. My face changed, the vibe changed, and now my feeling toward her has changed. She's a girl who likes to wear sensible shoes, right? She knows that she's going to at some point need to run and jump and squat and exit if needed. I always wear sensible shoes, by the way. So our thoughts become actions, become behavior.
I think as I'm recognizing what you're doing there, let's say you're in a room with some people, whatever vibe you put out, I think you're going to attract the same type of person. So if you're just kind of a snob or you're judging, odds are those type of people will kind of like, I see something familiar or similar with that person. I have a bond with them, even though it's a negative bond, but the confident, standing tall and strong. It's like something about that person I like, and you come to them. I know that with. This is so odd. Even with people I've worked with in the past in the TV news business, there was one guy in St. Louis who, there was something about him that I was almost threatened by, but I was drawn to and ended up being really best friends with him, is because we had so much in common. We had the same personalities, and yet I wasn't sure about him at first, but the more I got to know him, it's like, oh, no wonder I had this, I'm curiosity vibe, because that guy's just like me, or he has the same drive as I do. I want to be on his team. I want to be with him and build something together. Same with someone who is, brings that negative energy into your circle. It's like, I don't really want to be associated with that person because I don't like the way it makes me feel. But there are certainly people in my group that I want to sit next to at lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we are a reflection of those around us. For sure. Yeah. And when you start recognizing that there are toxic people around you, it is time to build up the courage to physically step out instead of worrying about mentally and the heart stuff like, breaking up with that toxic person, whoever the friend is or, the sweetheart is. Instead, think of it as physically removing yourself from their space. You don't need that kind of behavior in your life.
Can we move on to this? Have we touched on it yet? Experience?
Yeah. No. So experience is something different. So experience is another place where you can draw from to become your very best self. And a great example of this is my client, Great Shape Incorporated, that leads humanitarian projects in Jamaica. They take hundreds of volunteers every single year from around the world to Jamaica. And many of them are doing jobs that are familiar to them. Many of them are doing jobs that they've never, ever tried before. Many of them are global travelers. Some of them are traveling for the very first time. It doesn't matter what their story is. They all experience something really empowering while they're in Jamaica serving other human beings. And so toward the end of the week of each project, I always talk to the volunteers about what are some elements you experienced or some behaviors that you experienced that you feel really proud of. And so people often say things like, I'm really proud of the level of patience I showed others. I was really pleased with my courage, my ability to step out of my comfort zone. I really liked that I was so much more social here than I am back at home. I really like the way I laugh every day while I'm here. So no matter what the experience is, I then ask them to define it. And is there a way to break it down so that you can replicate it when you step back into real life? Because what's the point of experiencing like this heightened skill of patience if you're now not going to apply it to daily life? And so, again, it's about choosing the experience, defining it, break it down, and now you replicate it. It's more challenging than just choosing your best self because, like patience, that's kind of a lofty idea, right? How do I replicate patience? Well, you start paying attention to where were the moments where you showed patience? What were the steps you had to go through to demonstrate that patience? Did you use the art of the exhale? Did you take your time in conversation? Did you ask more questions than normal? Did you use a different filter to perceive the interaction? What were the steps you took? So people have to take some time and reflect and be self-aware enough to recognize what were the actions they took. Now they know the behaviors to repeat when they enter back into real life. So there are all these areas that we can embrace to really become better versions of ourselves.
The more I hear you talk about this, the more it really is a deliberate task. You've talked about being intentional. This is, there's no quick fix to this. This is something you really have to think about, internalize, and put it into action and be aware of it.
Yes. Every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, after a little while, though, we opened by talking about how long does it take to create habits.
Yeah.
Depending on how self-aware you are,
Yep.
the quicker you're going to build up these habits. The quicker you build up these habits, the more self-aware you are. And so it's a wonderful cycle to be in because then it's constantly rejuvenating itself, which in turn rejuvenates you as a human being.
Yeah. Choosing to be your best self, either if it's this new year, next new year, maybe just tomorrow, one step at a time.
How about daily moments? Yeah. Instead of thinking of it as this big, lofty thing, this year I'm going to lose 45 pounds, or this year I'm going to be kinder, or this year I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and show courage. Those are big, lofty ideas. You and I, what we are preaching today is to define it and break it down into steps you can carry out simply, task lists that you can carry out moment by moment, where you get to choose to be intentional about becoming your very best self. And that's really the only way you will let it shine.
My dear Lucinda Kay, great talk today. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, everybody. We hope to see you back here next time. Have a good one.
Yeah. Cheers, Dave.
Don't let me hear you say life's taking you nowhere. Angel, look at that sky, life's begun. Nights are warm and the days are young.